Well, it's March time, and an Ipswich Town side are closing in on promotion, showing some pretty formidable form. Where have I heard that before? This is Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday pre-match show. Do not adjust your sets. Things may look a little bit strange with us on the opposing sides of the screen that we normally find ourselves on a Thursday evening. It must mean something different is in the air, and that's why we're here tonight. We're going to be discussing the ITFC Women versus Plymouth game at Portman Road as this week's pre-match show. And joining me, as always, in a slightly different capacity is my good friend, Rich Woodward. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm excited for this. I mean, I'm excited for whatever's going to pan out with you in the host chair. Do I suddenly become good at FPL now that I'm not the host, or is that just that doesn't move with the posts?
Nothing can help you with that at this point. You've tried everything. Nothing will help at that point. I think I won again. Spoiler alert for the next pre-match show, but I think I won again.
Won it for you, didn't he? On his own to 2 bloody points. So
2 weeks on
more
the
of that to come in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, I'm excited for this one, and any opportunity I get to talk about the women's team, I will gratefully take that, and I'm happy to talk you through it. You can kind of be the not the neutral, because you've actually attended a Plymouth v ITFC game, haven't you? We had a couple of years ago, didn't we? Last season, I think, the away game. So you I wouldn't say you're a frequent flyer, but you are in needing of some information, and so I'm here to help impart that. And anything people want to take, borrow, steal for themselves for the weekend, then please do. That's why we're here. We're providing a service. So yeah, over to you, mate.
Excellent. Good stuff. So we'll try and keep a similar running order to how we normally do it. Very little news, obviously, being an international week. We do have a few players who've either made appearances in the last 24 hours or are playing tonight, recording this on Thursday evening. I guess the main thing is the picture that emerged yesterday of Liam Delap next to Harry Kane. I think James Rand in our Telegram group described it as the master meets the apprentice, and that's great to see. I know a lot of rumours, will he make the final squad? We debated it this time last week. You were proven correctly when you said you think he'll be in the under-21s, and he is, but great to see him involved with that level of setup, and clearly shows that Tuchel has him in mind, not for this squad, maybe in the summer, if he keeps going as he's currently doing in the league.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember if this was a thought I had or whether I actually said it out loud, but I did wonder whether he might train with the squad too. So I crap at FPL, but a little bit of foresight on how England call-ups might work. But yeah, I think I would rather describe it, Seb, as England's best striker photographed alongside Harry Kane. But yeah, great to see that. And, I think it would be really galling if Delap finally gets a full international call-up, having moved on elsewhere. But it was great to see it. And yeah, I mean, it looks like if there's an injury, he gets involved. So that's great to see. And I'm sure for him, being around that level is a real eye opener in terms of the standard. Harry Kane, the benchmark Premier League striker, England striker for the last 5-10 years. So yeah, what better kind of mentor to have there? So that was great to see, but also great to see others involved too, Seb. Lots of other players whilst we're recording this featuring for their countries, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've got Kieran Slicker and George Hurst are both on the bench for Scotland away in Greece. That would be their first caps, respectively.
Playoffs as well.
So. Slicker's made the bench a couple of times, made the squad a couple of times. George Hurst obviously has now changed allegiances, so watch this space for that one. Cameron Burgess played last night, not at left wing back, as the pre-match graphic suggested. He was in his trusty role of centre back in the 3-0 victory for the Aussies. You've got Dara O'Shea starting tonight at centre back for Ireland away to Bulgaria, and Jack Taylor is on the bench for that one. And Aaron Muric has recovered from his shoulder injury that needed injections. He's starting in goal for Kosovo. So good to see a little kind of roundup. I presume the England under-21 game must be at the weekend maybe, and we'll see Philogene and Delap and Hutchinson presumably. I know the senior England men game is tomorrow night on Friday night, so presumably the under-21 game follows, and then there'll be a load more next week as well before they'll start making their way back to the club. So right, we are here obviously to discuss the ITFC women's game. It's the second season in a row where they've been playing at Portman Road. It was Chatham Town last year, similar time of year, wasn't it? Was it March time?
Almost, almost to the year, yeah.
10,000 fans in the
10,000.
ground.
Yep.
Was that the
Mark
crowd?
Ashton announced it at half-time. Yep.
An excellent crowd, and it's a repeat this year. And fair to say that this season has gone swimmingly well and a lot better than last season did. Do you want to pop up the league table and we'll do a bit of an overview, shall we, of the current state of play before we kind of get into Plymouth? Appreciate there might be a few first-time kind of viewers of the ITFC Women team on Saturday, so a bit of context as to how the season is going. As you can see from the graphic on the screen, or if you're listening on podcast audio, I'll talk you through it. They are currently 3 points and 1 place behind Hashtag, who are top. Hashtag have 45 points from 19 games. Ipswich have 42 points from 17 games. Crucially, both those games in hand against Gwalia at home and at Watford, we play them before Hashtag play again after this weekend's upcoming game. So it is a big pivotal few weeks in the league season. The goal difference, as you can see, is way in Ipswich's favour, plus 57 for Town, plus 35 for Hashtag. So I'm no mathematician expert. 22 games are played in this league. So Hashtag's maximum they can get to is 54 points, which means if Town can get 12 points from the remaining, 4 wins, let's say, from the remaining 5 games, they will be promoted up to the Championship. Have I got that right? And what a season it's been for the ladies. You know, I didn't actually realise it wasn't until they lost to Hashtag, was it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago? That was their first defeat of the season. It's been an absolutely epic season. So talk us through it and how it's all gone for them.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to Joe before the season started, and the club had done some really excellent recruitment, have been pretty much since last season. The general manager, I need to say the GM, very American, general manager Rachel Harris came in. She's definitely helped Joe focus on on-field matters. And then Lauren Phillips, a new assistant manager, arrived partway through the season in January. So definitely a case of round pegs in round holes, giving proper attention and budget to this team, and the recruitment on the field, similarly eye-watering in terms of quality from Championship down, even WSL level down. Some players who know the level, who know how to get promoted, most importantly. We kind of talk about the Championship, even League One. We used to kind of talk about how tough it is a league to get out of, but there's one promotion spot. It used to be a couple of years ago. Town finished, I think, joint top.
Yeah, they lost out on goal difference.
And got nothing for it. Nothing to show for a season where you basically match the team that finishes first. And what's more, the team finished first at that time had to play a north-south playoff to get the solitary promotion spot. Fortunately, that's been scrapped, but it is a case of one out from the Southern League and the Northern League. So Town have to win the title to get promoted, and it's gone really well. And it's great to see players come in like Ella Rutherford, Charlotte Fleming before she got injured, and just hit the ground running and make a big impact. But the kind of mainstays, and it's funny to talk about these players as mainstays when they're 21, 20. We'll be talking to Lucy O'Brien on the podcast, and that will go out alongside this pre-match show. They've had really strong seasons as well. Sophie Peskett will talk about her leading scorer. Lucy O'Brien, second with the goals and most assists in the league. Even the players that were there have lifted their standards too. And, combine that with bringing in excellent recruitment, as I say, being able to, get the benefit of that coaching quality going up to presumably the resources that the men's team is a Premier League team. And it's all come together. And now it's about getting it across the line. They're given such a great platform. The Hashtag defeat, really frustrating, really disappointing. Argument about, I kind of mentioned it. I bitched about it, I think, on the pre-match show about how Hashtag moved the game around. It was their usual pitch is a 4G pitch at Averley, and they relegated us to Canvey Island's mud bath. And an injury to skipper Maria Boswell, who's going to miss out on the game as a consequence of that, and maybe not rallying or reacting well to that setback during that game. And Hashtag, capitalise. That's their way, But just to finish the chat on Hashtag, they have to go away to Oxford. If I put the league table back up, Seb, they have to go away to Oxford and away to Exeter. So Exeter third, Oxford fifth, and having a pretty decent season, a bit of a slow start, but they've been challenges throughout our campaigns at this level, and those won't be easy games. So we're hoping that someone does a favour, but even if they don't, if Town win all their matches, it's as good as, well, it's definitely done. They can afford to maybe drop some points. The goal difference helps, but you don't want to I think Joe and the team will be just about momentum and winning every match. And we can't underestimate Plymouth. Looking at the league table, they're second from bottom. They're challenging to stay up. So similar to kind of Chatham, although Chatham's was a bit more of a foregone conclusion last season. It's a game which has meaning both at the top and the bottom, whereas last season's game at Portman Road maybe less so. So it's going to be interesting.
And you mentioned there the running that hashtag have got. Am I right in thinking, I know football is never an exact science, our running, aside from Watford, is potentially maybe a little bit simpler on paper? I always say to you, football is not played on paper, obviously. But in theory, if you look at the two run-ins, ours is favourable, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the goal difference could take an even bigger boost, plus 22 on hashtag, if my math is correct. We've got to go to Milton Keynes away. They've got 1 point from their 19 games, haven't won a match all season, have conceded 103 goals. We play them away. That's hopefully a good game to kind of boost the goal difference and, again, build momentum. But Watford definitely the standout game. But those away games are always tough. Teams don't like to just roll over for us. And it's very, very much like the vibe of when we were in League One. The teams want to take us down a peg or two. And, there is definitely some envious eyes, definitely some myths about Ipswich's status in this level. There's a lot of chat about that we're full time and we've got a squad of pros. That's definitely not the case. If you're not aware of the kind of situation, there's kind of combination of players on contracts and there's players on non-contract terms. There's dual registrations, there's loans. We are definitely not a full-time team. We are definitely not fully pro yet, like Portsmouth, who have gone up and they went fully pro. That's hopefully the next step. But there are teams that, target us because we've got the resources. And so that target on our back isn't always helpful.
So Plymouth are the ones coming to town at the weekend. As you've just shown on the graphic there, second bottom in the league, 5 wins, 1 draw, 13 defeats for them so far this season. Only MK Dons ladies are keeping them off the bottom of the table. Talk to us about Plymouth. Who are the key players to watch out for? What's the recent form like? Give us a bit of a lowdown on who's coming to town on Saturday.
Yeah, so there's 2 teams that get relegated. Milton Keynes are a cert for the bottom spot, and it's now a battle to be the team that it's like the musical chairs. You don't know the one sitting in second bottom at the moment. Sadly for Plymouth, they are that team. They drew with Billericay, who are also challenging to avoid that spot 2-2 a couple of weeks ago. Gwalia, the other team who Town beat last weekend. They also play hashtag next, I believe, on the 20th this weekend actually. So these are the teams that they're scrapping with, and I feel really sorry for Plymouth. I think they've the situation off the field is quite positive. Actually, they play a lot of their games at home park. They're really well backed, do a lot of really great work in the community, but maybe the budget's just not there to kind of compete. Billericay are a really good kind of non-league setup, but really support their women's team, and Gwalia have got the attention now of kind of in Cardiff. So it is a challenge for them, as you mentioned, kind of won 5 of their matches, which isn't too bad, but it's the goal difference of -28 that could be a problem for them. And in the last 5 games, one win, 1 draw and 3 losses kind of tells the story really of their season. They're relying on other teams kind of doing them a favour at this moment. And, that draw to Billericay, that's the game you got to win, isn't it? It's kind of like we're looking at the Southampton game for the men's team in the Premier League. You can't, at least they didn't lose it. If I put the league table back on screen and kind of talk through it, Billericay on 17, Gwalia on 19, having played 1 game less, however. But it is a bit of a scrap there, and Plymouth will be fighting for their lives. Last time out, Seb, 5-0 defeat away at Watford. 4 goals conceded in the opening 23 minutes, kind of consigned the game to the, it's done and dusted at that point. And a run of games, really tricky games for them away from home. They've played Oxford, Exeter, and Watford in recent weeks, and now rock up to Portman Road in front of 10,000, hopefully 15,000 supporters. So it doesn't get any easy for them.
And they're not great away from home, are they? On the road, they haven't got the best of records this season, have they?
No, 10th in the kind of in the away form table, so marginally better than their overall position of 11th, but won twice and lost the rest. So, even at this level, kind of said to kind of keep yourself stable, just scrapping for those really grotty points. As I mentioned, you rock up at teams like Ipswich, at Felixstowe, or Oxford or Exeter, and you kind of dig in low block, and maybe they've been guilty perhaps of not squeezing out these kind of crappy grotty points when they don't deserve them. That would have seen them higher up the table, and a -11 goal difference on aggregate for their games away. Not terrible, perhaps should suggest they do sit in a little bit and make themselves hard to beat, but then it's not yielding points. So, you may lose a game 1 or 2-0, but if you can't get a draw out of 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 of the away games you play, then it's useless, isn't it? Last time out against Town, 5-1 victory. Played at Home Park in front of 873 fans. Town took the lead. Joe Sheehan wasn't particularly happy with this. We conceded an equaliser just on half time. Joe did a press conference this week ahead of the game and said, I was asked kind of what are your takeaways from the game at Home Park, and he said, we didn't start well. We didn't play well in the first half. So he'll be really keen, and he's mentioned it as well, that we make a really strong start, get the crowd on side. But fortunately, the quality told in the second half. Goals from Addison Boswell and a couple from Charlotte Fleming. Some really good volleys from Charlotte Fleming, who is going to be a big miss on Sunday. Really sad that she doesn't get to feature in that game. And Marie Boswell, as we mentioned too, a couple of really key players, the captain and central midfield kind of general alongside Kyra Robertson, has been excellent again this season. Really harsh when you see those players not able to feature in a game like this on Sunday. But yep.
Am I right in thinking that Maria Boswell's injury against #, isn't as bad as they feared? I think there were rumours it was a season ender, weren't there? But that might not be the case. Am I right in thinking she could return before the end of the season?
I haven't had any more specifics than that, apart from, there's a possibility of featuring again before the end of the season. Obviously, in the women's game, sadly, we have to talk about ACLs, and that's the injury that I think Charlotte Fleming has. That was the thought, is that it could be one of those, and that's 9-12 months out. Pretty severe situation there, but fortunately, it looks like Boz has managed to avoid that, which is great.
Plymouth then, who are the players to watch out for? Who's in charge of them? And how do they play? What system do they play versus Town? We'll talk about what we do after this, but give us the lowdown on the danger players at Plymouth's end and what you expect them to line up formation-wide on the weekend. Yeah,
so recently, in terms of in charge, a guy called James Bradley recently come in. A guy called, Ryan Perks had been in charge since 2020. Departed earlier in the calendar year, so I think January, February time, I think it is. So only come in recently. Suggests that maybe not all is well there. A little bit of jiggery pokery to try and create an upturn in form, perhaps. He came in for the Billericay game and got the 2-2 draw, which is a positive. But then the 5-0 at Watford. It's difficult we're lacking kind of data. We have to be open and honest about this. Last time out, I think it was a 3 at the back system. So I'll call out a few players that I think are important for them. I mean, top scorer is Charlotte Whitmore. She's got 8 goals, which is pretty good going, actually. Ellie Sarr is the number 9. She's got 5. But they've got some good quality players sprinkled around the team. Giota Papiano is a Greek international, over 100 appearances for Plymouth. She's the captain in central defence. They've got Ava Koikin, who's got championship experience with Reading. Imi Crawford, who's the vice captain. She's got over 100 appearances, and they'll kind of take those central midfield spots. And as I mentioned, Ellie Sarr, number 9, she scored 29 goals in all comps, I think, last year. So she's got good pedigree, good scoring boots. But yeah, in terms of, we're taking a punt already on the formation. I imagine it's something like a 3-5-2 perhaps, or maybe a 1 up front perhaps with
we're thinking
wingers.
The Whitmore plays slightly withdrawn, are we? More
I think notionally she's a bit more of an attacking midfielder, but there's a lot of players kind of from the player descriptions, which is all we've kind of got to go on. There's 2 right backs or right wingers as I see it playing in their midfield at the moment, which really confuses matters. But yeah, it's tricky to talk about that. But yeah, in terms of, I've kind of talked about Koikin, Whitmore, but there's no, apart from maybe Ellie Sarr, there's no kind of real standout big names. Whereas when we talk about the Town team and I talk about assists and goals and creating stuff, it's a different level for us compared to them. So yeah, it's going to be tough. But they've got, as I said, they've got some players with some good experience in the WSL. Lulu Jarvis might feature, attacking midfielder, ex-Brighton, ex-Reading. She's quite exciting. But yeah, that would be the guess. I would imagine, I'd be surprised if they lined up and matched us like for like. I think it would definitely be a back 3, try and sit in and try and take chances on the break.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Let's hear the dulcet tones of Mr. Mikey Penty-Smith with the Atwell's promo, and then we will come back and we will discuss Town, the key players, and what we think we will do at the weekend.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Thank you to Mikey, as always, for the lovely soothing tones giving us the Atwells promotion. A few further plugs. There will be a flagship show this Sunday, probably a bit of a state of the nation, maybe a bit of a Q&A. We'll work out something, but I assume it'll be the holy trinity of Ben, Dave and Joe going live at 8 p.m. on Sunday. You're shaking your head. Is there something you know that I don't?
I think I'm pretty certain there'll be some rotation, squad rotation. The guys deserve a break having sat through the last few weeks, I think. So it might be that I make a reappearance to talk about Sunday's game, but
fine. There'll be something going out 8 p.m. Yeah, it's a bit of a state of a nation, maybe going out 8 p.m. On Sunday night. Obviously, it will still be a bit of a reduced schedule next week, given that there's no FA Cup game for us the weekend, the end of March, and then it will all ramp back up for the week commencing the whatever it is, the 31st, is it, with Bournemouth in midweek on the Wednesday, and then we'll have pre-match for the Wolves game, huge game on the horizon, and then we will get ourselves back in the full swing for the run-in. You want to make you got your hand up?
So this is weird when I'm not in charge of the running order. The Wolves game is the ITFC Foundation fixture, so keep your eyes kind of peeled on their socials about events happening around that. And nearer the time, we're going to speak to Dan Palfrey about what's going on at the foundation and get more info too. So that'll be a bonus podcast that comes out around that fixture. So really excited to talk about Dan and the great work the foundation are doing. So yeah, signposting that for a couple of weeks' time.
Good work. Telegram, as always, come and join the discussion and the debate 24/7. It never stops. Multiple groups. If you've got a Panini sticker book like me and you're dramatically behind with your swaps and what you need, get yourselves in there. We've got groups for absolutely everything. Same gig as usual, 2-week free trial, and then only a £5 a month. And you can't buy anything for a £5 a month, so it's great value. One Stop badges. Thank you to our friends at One Stop. You've got the picture there. If you want to point to it on the screen, if you can get it right. No, he's got it wrong. I knew you would. Brilliant. Thank you to One Stop badges, as always.
Spot on. What are you talking about? Right
no,
there.
It's not on mine. It's not. You're pointing it in partnership with Atwells on my screen.
It looks fine on my side.
Thank you to One Stop badges. Get yourselves over there for any kind of badge requirements or merch that you need. I think we've got a few left. I think I've got 2 or 3 left. You've got a few left. There is a secondary run, however, on the way, isn't there? So there will be more available, hopefully, in the not too distant future. Right. That's the plugs. I don't think I've missed anything. Let's talk about us. So, yeah, an epic occasion at Portman Road, 2nd season running, multiple kind of thousands of crowd. How are we going to line up? What are we going to do? And who are the key players to watch out for?
Yeah, shall I take you through very quickly the state of play before we do that? So we've seen the league table. So Town second. Probably the stats, apart from only one defeat, and really it should be 0, but I'm biased. 65 goals scored, only 8 conceded at this point. Last 5, 1-4, and then that hashtag defeat. The great thing, Seb, is that the setback at hashtag hasn't disrupted us. A little bit of a nervy start away at AFC Wimbledon, but came out 3-0 winners. And Gwalia, tough place to go. They got a draw with Lewis, who'd been relegated, kind of mid-table team this season, but got a draw with Lewis before they played us. But we came away with a 2-0 win last weekend. So bounced back from defeat with 5 goals scored in the 2 games, 6 points and 2 clean sheets, which is all you could have asked for, really. And we are unbeaten at home. That defeat came away, 7 wins, 1 draw, and a plus 33 goal difference at Portman Road / Felixstowe. So it bodes really well. Very quickly, Joe Sheehan's stats. I've got some competitions, although you can see the script, so it doesn't matter. But Joe's win percentage, I've done it on a season-by-season basis in the league. We'll do a higher or lower, Seb. I'll start you off with 21-22, 69% win ratio in 21-22. Higher or lower than 69 in 22-23?
Is that the year they finished joint top with Watford? I'll say higher then.
Yeah, 77%. And then last season, not so great.
It must be lower because they dropped off, didn't they? They finished 3rd. Was it 3rd, 4th?
I think we ended up finishing 3rd or 4th. Yeah, I think. I'm trying to remember.
I'll guess lower then.
Yeah, so 64%. Still majority victories in that one. But the current state of play on win percentage for this season, it's higher. It's going to be higher. It's 75%. So on average for those seasons at this level, at 3rd tier level, Joe's league win percentage is currently 71%. As I mentioned, now has kind of a bolstered back room with Rachel as the GM and then Lauren as the assistant manager. She's got great pedigree, 4.5 years in the Championship with Southampton, who we've got some run-ins in our promotion battles in the past, but has also worked for Arsenal and Millwall and also roles with England. So a really excellent addition to the backroom team. She came straight in. I think she joined the kind of week before the Man City Cup tie. You and I were there, and she's on the sideline basically, calling out instructions and all that kind of stuff. So very quickly got up to speed. In terms of the key players, we'll talk through what I think the lineup will be, but to single a few names out, Sophie Peskett, once again, having an unbelievable season, just the standout player, not just for Ipswich Town, but in a Southern Premier League level and probably in third tier level. 15 goals in all competitions from that right-hand side position. 15 goals in the league, 19 in all comps. Yeah. Having just an unbelievable season and will be the outlet down that right-hand side, get the ball to Pesk and defenses are terrified, etc., etc. So keep a lookout for her down that right-hand side. Lucy O'Brien, I mentioned her at the top of the show, having a great season, 8 goals for her and 8 assists. She's the lead assist maker. So she's having a fantastic season, great returns, has had kind of issues with injuries and consistency in terms of being in the team until this season, but is one of the first names on the team. She didn't actually start last week away at Gwalior. Joe gave Sean a go, and she's got 7 assists, one of the signings from the summer. But sadly for her, she kind of wasn't able to finish the half out and got her injury kind of got the better of her. So I'd expect Lucy to start and come back in on Sunday. And as always, other names that people will know, Natasha Thomas has got 7 goals to her name, works tirelessly to create as well as scoring goals. And Kyra Robertson, who'll be the standing captain on Sunday. She's got 6 assists, just the metronome in central midfield, just so much control of the ball, can see the game ahead of her and just really smart passing, knows when to release the ball, knows when to run with it, and will always drop in and offer some defensive screening as well. So a really great, captain, standing captain, but having a brilliant season once again in midfield. In terms of the kind of lineup, Seb, and how I expect it to look, it is kind of I would describe it as kind of a McKenna ball, not doing disservice to Joe, kind of 4-2-3-1 situation. I'd expect probably a couple of question marks about who plays in the number 10. I've got Ruby Doe, who recently re-signed, having been on a dual reg last season. She's returned. And Maisie Barker and Summer Hughes have kind of fought it out for the left back spot. I've gone with Maisie Barker because she started last week. She has been, I think, nursing a bit of an injury, but Summer Hughes is a equally good option there. Both bring pace to that position. Grace Garrett has come in, I think, on the left-hand side. I think she's a left footer. So she's kind of notionally Maria Boswell's replacement at centre-back, but another great signing, had been at Lewis in the Championship last season, so offers so much. And Ella Rutherford, another name, not least for her socials and who her other half is. If you watched I'm a Celeb, but has scored some absolute thronkers for us, absolute worldies from range, including recently the winning goal against Exeter. Loves a shot from range, will love playing on the big stage. She's got that kind of top tier pedigree, so she'll be looking to make an impact. But it's kind of this setup, Seb, and then if I kind of roll it forward, there we go. The animations work, fortunately. Leaf Davis style, Maisie Barker will roam forward and take up a very advanced left-sided position. Leah Mitchell on the right-hand side, not so much. But Sophie Peskett will get right up down that right-hand side. Ruby Doe will kind of come across. Rutherford will roam in that kind of number 10 spot notionally, and Lucy O'Brien will take a kind of wider, kind of more of a Nathan Broadhead type position, I would say, than maybe a Jack Clark. And obviously Natasha Thomas leading the line there. But that's how I would kind of describe it, how I would see it looking in terms of kind of other options or players that might be looking to make an impact. I mentioned kind of the left back conundrum for Joe, whether you go with Summer Hughes or Maisie Barker. Elkie Bowyer's rejoined again from Spurs on a dual reg. She missed out on the matchday squad last year for the Chatham game, so she'll be really keen to play. Lucy Watson's another player who's come in, I think, on loan rather than a dual reg from Chelsea. Great Championship experience with Palace, I think she was there when they got promoted last season. Also spent the first half of the year at Southampton. And a recent signing, Ruby Seaby, has come in from Arsenal, I think on a permanent deal. 9 goals, 8 assists for their under-21s this season. Izzy Fisher went back to Arsenal, ended up being shipped out to Watford. I think Ruby Seaby's coming a competition for Sophie Peskett down that right-hand side. Lucy Watson can play in that forward position, so it's kind of competition for Natasha Thomas up front. But that strength and depth there is just something that Joe hasn't had at his disposal. And now you can see it just paying dividends, and players that won't be featuring Maria Boswell, the skipper, centre-back, Charlotte Fleming, central midfield, scored some really important goals this season, led by example a lot. Angela Addison might feature. There's fingers crossed that her injuries sort themselves out and she can feature on Sunday. And I mentioned Shauna Guy, with chipping in with the assists. There is so much quality in this team, Seb, and you can see why teams like Plymouth just struggle when Ipswich are on their day, and hoping it will be sunny. I think the weather's a bit mixed, to be fair, on Sunday, but in front of that crowd that will really energize them, they'll want to put on a show. But I think probably the key thing is that, unlike the Chatham game, this game has real meaning. It matters both for Plymouth battling for survival, but Ipswich, if they want to get that promotion spot, this is the game they have to win, and hopefully everything comes together on Sunday.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, my friend. Just a couple of quick questions I'd like to ask you. Obviously, about this time last year, we were obviously discussing the men's team, and promotion was looking, on the cards, and we had debates about how would we fare stepping up a level. What is it like in your experience stepping up to the Championship? And am I right in thinking we may have tooled up already, a bit like the men's side did in League One, where we had the Broadhead, Clark, Luongo, Hurst window? Are we kind of getting things in order to be able to hit the ground running and be competitive in the Championship?
It's a great question. Natalia Negri, who we've spoken to on the podcast, and a shout out as well. We've got quite a catalogue of interviews with Joe, with Lucy O'Brien, with Maria Boswell, and Natalia Negri. I forgot to shout out her 11 clean sheets so far this season, by the way, Seb. I'm having an absolute stormer. And she was asked a similar question in the press conference, and kind of described it more like the men stepping up to the Premier League. It's more the physicality, I think. You see a lot of players, with real stature, physical stature. And it's fair to say that we've got quite a few players who are a bit diminutive. I think they've definitely bulked up. The training regime definitely improved, and the recruitment has tried to address some of that as well. You look at the likes of Ella Rutherford, Charlotte Fleming, even Angela Addison, isn't the tallest, but has got that physical stature, is not going to get knocked off the ball. And I think that's where the difference is. We've got quality in terms of that attacking play. We've got great fundamentals in terms of the system. We've now got players with the experience. I talked about Natalia Negri. She, I think, was at Palace and Charlton, so she knows the level above. Grace Garrett knows the level above. Ella Rutherford does. Ruby Doe does, Charlotte Fleming does. There's suddenly a lot more of that high level IQ, which the men obviously haven't been able to do. We've done it to an extent, haven't we, with some of our recruitment, maybe more so League One to Championship than Championship to Prem. But I think it's that physicality, Seb, and you get bullied, or the risk is you get bullied. So, we're always going to be a footballing team, but probably the thing we need to address is bringing in a bit more experience, but bringing in that physicality, certainly in the back line. And, you've got Megan Waring, who's like an absolute hero at the back, real physical stature. She scored 6 goals, actually. You need to shout out Megan Waring, having a really great season. But she's probably, her and Leah Mitchell, quite tall. But other than that, maybe Ella Rutherford and Natasha Thomas up front, maybe lacking in that kind of physical stature, Seb. And, we've seen that with Premier League teams who've both got the stature and the ball playing attributes, and just looks light years apart from us, don't they? So that's probably it. But I think in terms of what we can do to be ready for it, if it does happen, and there'll be fellow Sunday attendees like myself who are a little bit wary about talking about the P word prematurely. But I think the club have done absolutely what they can to prepare for it. So if it happens, I think we're in a good place, but more needed probably in the summer. And
just very briefly, obviously this has now become an occasion. Second year on the bounce, we're playing at Portman Road. Do you think if promotion does happen, these games become more and more frequent and we find ourselves playing at Portman Road more often?
I think if we get promoted, yes. I'd be surprised if it isn't 2 or 3 games, I think. And the pitch is now going to be established, isn't it, at that point? There's Felixstowe's been great hosts. Obviously, I don't know if the standard for the Championship is within Felixstowe's grasp. I would hope it is, but yeah, I think the club would have wanted to do maybe one more game this season. I think if we got the right cup draw, and I think if we'd had Norwich at home in the League Cup rather than away, it might have been at Portman Road. Nice early season game. But yeah, I'd love to see more of these games. And, you know, if we get 15,000, say, and the numbers are looking really positive in that respect, I think most of the stands are looking sold out, apart from North Stand lower. Maybe, you know, not the demographic perhaps for a Sunday game at Portman Road, but the rest of the ground looking really good. So I guess if you're listening to this before Sunday, you can still rock up on the day, but you risk maybe not sitting in the greatest of situations unless the club open up more of the stadium. So, you know, the more people engage, Seb, and you know, as much as I totally understand that Felixstowe is not accessible for everyone, it is our home, and it would be brilliant to see, you know, a fraction of the numbers, the new faces that show up on Sunday, also go to the Gwalia game. I know it's Mother's Day next Sunday, but you know, the games after that, Cheltenham and that kind of stuff, it'd be great to get that support to kind of justify and make the decision for Mark Ashton and co so much easier.
Very much so. Well, excellent. Thank you, my friend, for all your hard work with the research. I'll let you have the last kind of line to take us out. It's going to be a fantastic occasion. If you're listening to this heading to the game, please let us know. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a retweet, and do all the stuff that Rich loves that helps the podcast appear in more lists or whatever the magic is that happens. It's going to be a brilliant occasion. Let's get right behind the girls. They are closing in, hopefully, on a promotion campaign. I know times have been tough following the men's team this season, and you know, we found ourselves struggling a bit stepping up to the Premier League level, but the stuff the women are doing is a brilliant success story, and it's great to see this level of involvement again from the club in the community. You know, you're taking your nieces, aren't you, for their first football games at the weekend. There'll be loads and loads of people doing similar. The fan zone will be open, first time fans is in effect, so yeah, it'll be a brilliant spectacle. And here's hoping to an excellent result and an excellent few weeks for the ladies team, and they get across the line finally, because it's really deserved for the hard work they all put in. Thank you for the research, mate. It was lovely sitting in this chair. You don't have to do anything. You're basically sailing through this for the last 4 years, aren't you? It's much nicer just sitting here and not having to put your neck on the line and make predictions about players and tactics and patterns of play. So maybe we'll do it more often.
Do you want to press the buttons, or
no? I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, so do you want to divulge that behind the curtain, or
well, everyone knows that it's like a driving test. You know, when you learn your driving test and the when you do your first driving lesson and the instructor has their foot over the clutch to make sure you don't stall. That's basically what this is. Rich still pushes all the buttons because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not going to lie. But
thank you for letting me talk all about it. Hugely passionate about supporting this team. Please do get down to the game. We'll be talking about it on the Flagship show if not, and there's an ITFC women's group on Telegram too, so another reason to join over there. We will have that interview with Lucy O'Brien. Keep a lookout for that. The back catalogue of other interviews with the squad, with Joe, available too on our YouTube and on our podcast feed. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please, as I say, the thumbs up does make a big difference, as does the 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice. It's just swiping 5 stars. If you want to leave a review, we appreciate those too. But yeah, thank you, mate. It'll be good to get back into our usual rhythm. But I'm not going to complain about a week off next week. I think we deserve it, don't we? So looking forward to that. And as we always sign off this podcast with, come on, you Blues.